Deco here. Everyone loves a massive character roster. There's just something about having a ton of options despite some of them functioning similarly. But as someone who is into insane archetypes that rarely sees tournament play, the 2xKO roster is severely lacking, both as a huge fan of League and a fighting gamer. Welcome to Play Fighting Games, a series on anything and everything I love about fighting games.
Oh, this shit is...
To convince my friends,
I remember he parried every viable.
Stop doing them then, innit?
I know.
today we will talk about how safe 2xKO's roster is and how much better it could be with me as a qualified expert on both League of Legends and fighting games. League of Legends is deep and nuanced with different champions taking on different roles and functions in the game. Translating this into a fighting game might become a challenge as it is not one-to-one, but they have made the correct decisions so far. Teemo captures the essence of a ranged top lane matchup, befitting a zoner who would want to keep you out of their space while being an annoying little thing that chips your health and sanity bit by bit. Darius captures the simplistic Shoto, with his basic kit being the perfect starting point for anyone who wants to get into the game. He is the Ryu function of this game, and Blitzcrank would fill you with dread whenever you see his rocket grab. Much like my teammates in League, people pick champions outside of their usual role and make it work, which is a headache because it bastardizes these clear lines we've drawn for their archetypes. Why can Yasuo keep you away while also overwhelming you with rushdown? Why can Echo make you explode while also being impossible to kill? These are just a few of those archetypes that do exist. Now we've learned most of the usual archetypes. Why do I think the roster is incredibly safe? Just look at the available champions for League. And I know, it's probably a promotion for Arcane. They have to make money and you get all of 2xKO for free. But I do think Riot Games has the ability to make people love the other non-Arcane characters. The cast is mostly human and we have a plethora of weirdos of different shapes that would also fit in the cast. Warwick and Blitzcrank is proof. Now to fix this, we have an objectively correct rubric to figure out the perfect champions to put in the game. The rubric. Portability, diversification, FGDNA, and League trauma. Portability is how likely we are to see them once converted into a fighting game character and how weird and challenging it would be to have them. Champions like Yuumi who would need to attach to a teammate and Anivia who float would be too out of there to even consider. Diversification. Aside from region representation, we also have different monsters and races that are worth looking for. We can even look at this through previously mentioned archetypes. How much do we even need a big-bodied character like Alistar knocking you up when we already have characters like Darius, Blitzcrank, and Illaoi? How about Caitlyn keeping you away with traps and disabling nets when we already have Jinx and Teemo? Errata. This was recorded a day before Caitlyn was announced, so I had no fucking clue. FGDNA. Now these are the characters that just scream all of the DNA of a fighting game character. This would be your Lee Sin throwing projectiles with powerful punches and kicks. This is also your Akali with the potential to zip back and forth. And League trauma. League trauma is how much of this character brings back the League experience and how it would translate well into 2xKO. Teemo being annoying and Darius being someone I don't want to be close to are great examples of this. This is a game for League fans after all. There's a million champions out there, so to keep with a shortening attention span of everyone watching, we are making a team comp of champions that should make it into 2xKO. Starting with the top lane, the Saltwater Scourge, Gangplank. He is pretty easy to port as he is a human and a lot of the translation of abilities would work in a fighting game context. I would rather him than any other Bilgewater character right now and he fills a different kind of archetype that doesn't exist in the game yet. The barrels exploding, triggering from his gun, and then switching to his blade, this screams Guilty Gear in a lot of ways. Barrels don't do anything as a projectile, but when it hits with the Fire Blade special or the Flintlock special, it explodes. He also has the option to call in support from his ship to fire cannonballs into the screen out of nowhere. I'm sure it will all come back if you get hit by a barrel from halfway across the screen, and like he only recently threw a second one to catch you by surprise. Moving to the jungle, we have Kayn. A big swinging weapon that isn't Brahm's door is much needed in this game. An Ionian representative that doesn't do magic would fit in, and his abilities, while simple, have tons of room to become interesting. This isn't the first time we are seeing someone with form-changing abilities or an install that slightly alters his gameplay. He can access it through his super or make it a minigame, depending on which special moves he hits the enemies with. Nothing like seeing blue form and thinking you won't live for more than a second, but seeing red form and thinking, oh, he doesn't have damage, he's in red form, but still explodes you for the same amount of time. I want that. And in the mid lane, the unkillable Demon King. It's Azir. While he might be a bit out of the normal, he can definitely be restyled to better suit the game. A redesign making his form look more distinguishable and easy easy to read would be more than enough considering what's to come. We don't even have a Shuriman yet, and this is the most interesting one of them all. The archetype of a puppet character where you control a different other thing on the screen is still open in 2xKO. And Azir having sand soldiers he can attack with and dash to screams all sorts of degenerate strategy. I think if you've played against an Azir before, you have experience getting Shurima shuffled. This should be in the game. Azir banana dashing into you, pushing you into a different soldier, and comboing you from range is a must-have. The bot lane representative for this comp is Aphelios, and hopefully Marlinpie specifically designs him. Might be a bit difficult to figure out how to fight with a ranged character, but Jinx managed to make it work. Like I said, I'm using Caitlyn footage because I recorded this the day before she got announced. Could be a bit whack to have another ranged character in the game like Jinx. The guns could be stances he switches in between while playing, or it could be a mini game where it runs out after a few uses of the special move where it cycles to the next one. All I know is Marlinpie is gonna make it work. Didn't think Teemo would be more interesting than a lane bully. League trauma here is knowing when to go in depending on his guns. Certain guns are better at certain spaces or scenarios, so applying something similar in a fighting game would work for sure. Just look at characters like Asuka or Kreutz. And finally, Bard. He's not the best in terms of portability. He does feel a bit wonky, and I can't imagine Bard throwing out a punch. That said, I see nothing but potential, like using his horn as a weapon. Bard falls under the category of freaks in this game, similar to Fiddles or Kha'Zix. He can also bring an interesting and different archetype into the game. Bard has chimes he can collect in League, and this is possibly a great FG mechanic where your chimes can hold down the neutral. Go on, my child. Possible causes of trauma for Bard here can be his movement. They can make him move so smoothly that it's aneurysm inducing. They can also make anyone afraid of the corner where Cosmic Binding would be scarier if the poor opponent is cornered. In conclusion, 2xKO has a lot of things going for it, but most of my problems with it stems from the roster size and homogeneous and overlapping archetypes. Whenever I feel irked at a matchup, I remember that there's only a handful of characters, and that's probably why most matches feel repetitive, and this video is an example of bigger swings they can take to help alleviate it. It doesn't have to be balanced, it just has to be fun to play with and against. Let me know in the comments which archetype you'd pick when you finally play fighting games.